game where loose cannon Aaron Jensen has been saying, I raise and I call, all with the hopes of enjoying the day. He says, I do.
My name is Aaron Jensen, and I'm from Seattle, Washington. Well, the first hand of Texas Hold'em I was ever dealt was in my buddy's pickup truck at Lake Havasu. We were just partying it up. He's like, I'm going to teach you this game. We played a few then, and then a little bit later, another friend of mine told me about online poker and introduced me to some books. So, like all my hobbies, I dove right in. I've got a fiance. We've been engaged for about a year and change, and we've been saving up for the wedding. Our goal has always just been to throw a good party. I mean, the wedding part of it is just, it's just a title change. She kind of has the same philosophy. She just wants to have a good time. If we're going to spend all that money, she wants it to be a memorable night. So I want to plan that wedding and have a nice wedding for her. And this might give me some of the runway I need, but we'll see. We'll see. First things first.
Most people blame wedding delays on cold feet, but Aaron might get to blame his on a cold deck.
Remember, the loose cannon only gets to keep any profits he makes over $100,000. Right now, he is stuck $17,000. Scott Seaver leading the way with over $240,000 in profits, and Daniel's still fuming over that last hand.
Oh, did the board pair in the river?
No.
Oh, man. Oh, I would have, the turn, she would have made 3-8s. Oh, baby. Yeah, I would have doubled 3 for sure on the turn.
There's 3 spades on the board. I'm not
the turn, you made a set of 8s.
So? I'm not even getting to the turn. How do I even get to the turn in that pot?
You're just gonna fold to a check?
I'm checking. No, but we're multi-way.
Are you gonna fold to a check?
Someone was gonna bet something.
That would be an aggressive
Out of 6 people, there's so much in there. Someone's betting. If no one bets, and I get to the 8, you definitely get at least something out of me. But you don't felt me.
I think there's too much money in there not to. The pot size bet. That's all I got. I only had 100 and something.
Seaver's out. King 9 suited for Brunson. Raises to 1,200.
Todd hasn't raised too often, but it's tough to get a raise through this field.
The loose cannon. He's got chips. Gets a little frisky. Raises to 4,000.
The loose cannon has gotten looser and looser as play has gone on. Clearly this man is terrified of marriage.
Folds back over to Todd, who calls.
Todd's willing to open his range to play a pot with the amateur.
Queen, 10, 2 spades. Brunson checks his straight flush draw.
It's a bad flop for Jensen to try to continue his play.
But he does, betting 6,000.
It's a great flop for Todd because he can semi-bluff a raise here if he likes.
A raise to 17,000.
By doing this, he finds out right away how strong Aaron's hand is, and even if he gets called, he's got plenty of outs. Aaron knows how tight Todd's been playing.
Jensen folds.
I thought that was going to be it right there.
Would you call my push?
Yeah.
You had a queen?
I don't know. I had to get the last bet in, actually.
So Todd takes this one down without any trouble. Joe, what have you noticed about Todd's playing style?
Well, Chris, he's playing uber-tight passive poker. Pre-flop, he's hardly ever 3-betting or opening pots, and overall, he's seen the least amount of flops here tonight. Todd seems to be waiting for really strong traditional starting hands or good spots when he thinks he has an edge.
Well, say what you want about Todd Brunson's playing style. It's working. He's up almost $50,000.
Forget solid poker. Us kids want to see people raising with junk.
Suited connectors for Brunson, and he's out. King, queen for the cannon. Raised to 1,500. Lex calls. Vanessa on the button. Also calls. All right, we're getting sloppy, guys. Come on. Daniel calls.
Negreanu with a Pee Wee Herman call.
And strikes the Seaver pose. Scott in the big blind. He looks miffed.
He's trying to figure out how he can juice this pot.
He folds.
Too good to be true spot.
I mean, that one would be so good it just had to be true, right?
Scott's trying to stay limber to hold that pose for long periods of time.
Deuce 9-10. Negreanu checks middle pair. Jensen checks.
Veldhuis thinking about a semi-bluff.
Fires 4,800 with a nut flush draw. Vanessa folds.
I'm not folding to a shove.
Yeah, no, I know that already. I knew that. I knew that when the flop came. Before you even bet.
Daniel folds the best hand.
Might fold to yours, though.
Jensen's got 2 overs and a gut shot, but we know his spade outs are dead.
Jensen calls.
It's a loose call, but if he improves without hitting a spade, it'll make for a pretty strong hand.
Ooh, the Veldausian stare. 6 on the turn. Check by Jensen.
Lex has now got a pair to go with his draw, so he's not exactly bluffing anymore.
$4,500 to go.
Aaron doesn't have much of a draw, but it is a very small bet from Lex. Maybe confusing the loose cannon a bit.
But he calls.
Lex doesn't hate it.
The river. The queen of clubs giving Aaron top pair.
Poker's so unfair.
Check, check.
Got there.
So sick.
Aaron got a little lucky on the river there, but it put too much out there for him to be able to bet it.
Jensen wins a pot worth more than 25 grand.
Nice pot for the cannon. That one seemed to sting Lex a little bit.
That one was sick.
Unreal sick.
Unreal sick.
Our loose cannon, Aaron Jensen, takes a nice pot down, but he's still in the loss column, and his time is running out.
In the meantime, Lex just keeps on running bad. Can the young European turn things around? Find out when we return with more of the big game from Las Vegas after this. Welcome back to the big game where there's close to $1 million on the table right now. And remember, our loose cannon, Aaron Jensen, has 150 hands to turn a profit and put himself in good position for that North American Poker Tour passport. Here he leads out to 1,500. Lex folds, as does Vanessa. Daniel's out. Ace 7 for Scott Seaver.
Scott's out of position with a medium ace.
But that doesn't stop him. He raises to 5,500.
Scott's continuing to keep the pressure on the loose cannon.
Brunson folds.
Let's see how the amateur handles it. He makes a quick call. King-queen suited's a very playable hand. Time is running out.
The flop, 4-4-5, 2 diamonds. Seaver checks.
2 overs and a flush draw for Jensen.
Oh, and that's a balk. He was reaching for chips, but he checked. Jack of spades on the turn. Seaver checks. Jensen fires 5,000.
This bet may be one street late. A bet on the turn looks a lot weaker than a bet on the flop. Jensen's also a little late to build a pot if he hits his flush. Plus, he's only got 1 card to come.
Seaver calls.
Scott knows that sometimes his ace high will be good there, and he can potentially bluff the river.
Which is the 10 of spades. Seaver checks again.
Aaron checked when he had the most amount of equity in this pot. Now it looks like he's about to bet when he's got none.
That's 12,000.
A pure bluff with king high.
I think I'm about to make such a terrible call. Like a laughably bad call right here. I really think I'm about to. Ah. This is laughably bad.
Scott's onto something. Aaron still managed to fire 2 streets, and that looks very strong coming from an amateur.
This would be really bold.
Aaron really hasn't been looked up much, and he has gotten away with a lot.
Really, just... Yeah, really think so.
Seaver calls
King high.
and takes down the
sick
pot.
call.
Nice call.
Put the caterers on hold. Aaron just took a huge hit there. And remember, he only gets to keep profits above the initial 100,000 he was staked.
You know, while Scott has gotten lucky on some other hands, right here he just made a great decision. Scott Seaver is such a dangerous player because he's capable of mixing up his play all the time, so he's impossible to predict.
And now he's up nearly 265 grand. But Vanessa straddles. So that means the action begins with Daniel.
She finally remembered this time.
He folds. Seaver All giggly. Pocket jacks.
It's easy to be giggly when you're up as much as he is.
Raises to 2,200. Todd folds on the button. King 10 for the cannon. He's out. Lex, suited, folds. Now the straddler. She calls.
Vanessa's made a call with a weak, unsuited ace out of position to Scott Seaver. I don't really envy her in this spot.
The flop, 9-10 king. The loose cannon would have flopped top two pair. Vanessa checks. Seaver checks.
Aaron's got to be kicking himself with time running short.
Board pairs on the turn. Vanessa checks. Seaver fires 2,000. And Vanessa quickly calls.
It's a pretty loose call, but Vanessa might think her ace is good here.
The river. The 8 of hearts. Vanessa checks.
Vanessa checks, so it looks like she wasn't floating the turn.
Seaver bets